missing a feeling.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. This is your host, Tara Martini, along with host Becky McNattin. We're glad to have you listening as we live and share stories of mental health.
We spent last week talking about self-disappointment, Tara, and I loved that show so much. We explored the concept of telling the difference between wrongdoing and self-criticality. We also talked about our inner critic and how that may have unrealistic expectations. Our discussion since then has had me thinking about all of this through the last week. And as you know, but maybe many of our listeners do not, I see people as prisms.
You do.
I think prisms are an incredible metaphor for human beings because they have so many different facets, and each of those facets, when impacted by the world around it, highlights a part of the prism. And I could keep going on this. I won't. But if people are prisms, we have so many different sides to us. And last week, we highlighted the sides of ourselves that we may not really love to acknowledge. Perhaps because you and I see life as this surreal paradox constantly, I wanted to turn to the other side of the prisms of us. Because at the same time that we are disappointing, to us, we are worthy of celebrating. Our skills, our gifts, talents, abilities, they're incredible. And as I've been pondering disappointment in the last week, I found myself thinking so much about how much time we spend considering what we do wrong and what we mess up on. But how much time do we spend honoring how fantastic we are? How often do we give space for celebrating what we bring to this world? And what would you say about this?
Girl, as I told you before the show, I am 100% more uncomfortable today than I was
Talking
last
about
week.
this? Yeah.
Last week, I'm all about it. Let's talk about how we disappoint ourselves.
Yes.
This week, I did more prepping for this episode because I was uncomfortable with the topic.
Interesting.
It's just this level of discomfort. And like we said right before we went on the air, let's just bathe in the discomfort of this episode today. I find it fascinating because as a whole, I think our culture possesses a focus on individualism versus collectivism, where I think our country does focus on celebrate me and all my amazingness and all those things. Mm-hmm. But I think for a lot of us who live in this country, we do have more of a collectivist mentality where we see it more as we and community. And those of us that do are not good at celebrating ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good point because I think sometimes people want to affirm themselves or notice the positive things they do for the world around them, but they don't know how to do it.
No idea.
And so I see a struggle with this.
Yes.
Why do you think we struggle with this?
I think we struggle with it because we're more comfortable sitting with our shortcomings versus our strengths, because I can sit and go, wow, here's a weakness of mine. Okay. I can easily go back and think of times where I messed up. I can analyze it, I can process it, and then I can think of, okay, now I don't want to do that in the future. That in itself just takes up more time than, wow, I did a great job in that presentation. And then it's period. Mm-hmm. I don't take the extra time to go, well, what did I do well specifically?
Yes.
And not only what did I do well, but what am I going to take from that presentation? What skills? And then am I going to carry on to the next presentation I give.
Keep doing more of.
Yes.
Highlighting that what went well because I want to do more and more and more of that.
Yeah, and that's where we struggle. We don't do that.
So, hey, everybody, we're spending a whole show talking through not only why we need to celebrate ourselves, but how we can. Such an interesting topic. We're going to take a short commercial break right now, but stay tuned as we talk through simple ways you can start to celebrate and honor your true self. Thank you for listening to Feels Out Loud. We'll be back in just a moment.
All you got to do now.
Welcome back to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. I am Tara Martini, along with Becky McNattin. Let's dive right back into our discussion on the concept of celebrating ourselves.
Okay, everyone. I'm not aiming to be corny here. I'm not saying that as we're talking about celebrating ourselves, that we need to go get a mirror and talk into it every day about how we are a lovable human being. I am saying, though, that with the same energy as we notice our mess ups, we need to notice our contributions. I feel like we get so focused on developing self-awareness through seeing what isn't working and what is unhelpful. And, of course, you and I are big on self-awareness, Tara. Mm-hmm. That can be highly beneficial.
Yes.
To learning new things about us, to learning what we can improve on. But what about also highlighting what makes us us in the coolest ways?
Yes.
A few weeks ago, I was talking with a friend of mine who told me about this huge meeting they had at work.
Okay.
They were leading this presentation training thing, and it was going to last 4 hours. So it was a long time. My friend had worked super hard on the content and was telling me how much they had prepared. So, okay, leap ahead to several days, and I check in on the day of the presentation, and I say, how did it go? Friend says, it went great. I then said, love that. Say more. And my friend immediately went on to talk about all the things, tiny things, mind you, that didn't go quite as planned.
Oh.
He said they ran long in one of the segments of the training, so people didn't get as long of a break as he had hoped. They showed a slide too quickly at one point before they were done talking, and then had to go back to the previous one and finish. And then he caught himself after a few minutes, and it had been a few minutes,
okay,
and said, wow, I said it went great, and it did, but I haven't said anything about what actually went well.
I love that he caught himself.
And guess what? I didn't notice either.
Oh.
I didn't notice either. I was totally caught up in listening to the details that he was mentioning. I didn't think at all about how we had completely skipped the it went great parts.
Yeah.
And went directly to the room for improvement parts.
Yep.
And we both started laughing about this, and then he told me that he had even asked the person in charge of putting together the training if they could email the participants to get feedback so as he as a presenter could improve. And the person in charge of this said, well, I think we would only hear that people loved it, but I can sure do that.
Wow.
And we went on to talk then about how feedback that says things were wonderful sometimes isn't absorbed at all. But I think my favorite part of that whole discussion was us talking about what might have looked different entirely if he had taken the win for himself and had celebrated what he had accomplished, the work he put in and what he noticed. And I just love me thinking about the experiences around that I've had. What would you say? What experiences have you had, Tara, where skipping over the moment of personal celebration?
Well, first I want to reflect, if it's okay, on your example.
Sure.
The piece of, I envision him, if he did even get the feedback, if there were positives, even detailed positives.
Yeah.
Where I envision him just going, like flipping through really quickly.
Yeah.
And almost looking for, but I need to know what I need to work on, which A, is great to like take that feedback, but also we have to sit in the positives and like celebrate it ourselves.
Yes.
I just love that. An experience for me about skipping over a moment of personal celebration. A perfect example is I just got a new office and I was setting everything else out, and there were 4 things that I set on the wall, and they were awards that I had received over the years. And as I'm setting them out, I was like, how in the world have I had these sitting out for a year? This is so selfish and self-centered, and why would I have these? And instantly, I went from, I remember why I set them out originally a year ago, because I was so proud of them. Like, wow, this is a big deal. Now going back to my second office, I just was like, oh my God, how could I do that? Whatever. I immediately took back, and it was no longer a personal celebration. It was embarrassment. Fast forward to my house, I'm unpacking them. on the counter, and my daughter says, Mom, why do you have all your awards at home? They were in your office before. Okay, well, I could respond as a human or as a mom. Mm-hmm. I responded as a human, and I said, oh, I just felt like I shouldn't have them in my office. And she, of course, responded as a human and said, why not? You should be proud of that. Okay, well, it's the daughter being the teacher. I so skipped over the acknowledgement of this is a personal celebration I had.
Yeah.
Why not celebrate it and soak it in and have that represent like things I had accomplished in my life?
Right.
But I skipped over it and literally and figuratively boxed it up.
Put it in a box.
Hid it from everyone else.
Yes.
And brought it home to hide away.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up a really good point that the celebration doesn't even need to be a one and done. Mm-hmm. That we could continue to go back to a moment and reflect on and re-celebrate that thing, especially for that, a training or an award, how that's showing up actively in your life currently. Why do you think we consider improvement of self or self-awareness as noticing the negative?
Oh, goodness. I think so much because it's in the idea of if we're self-aware, the only way we're going to get better is if we acknowledge where we are not good enough.
That's a really good point.
Right?
Yes.
Where,
like the gaps.
Yes, the gaps. Which, as I'm saying it out loud, like, yes, we as humans, that is what we do. But part of also developing a strong self-awareness is also looking at, but what am I doing well? And look at where I came from. Mm-hmm. And it's something we do so easily with our clients or with our friends, right? Where a client may focus on the negative and be frustrated with themselves. And how many times will I say, let's just pause. Mm-hmm. Can we just sit in the fact for a moment? Listen to what you just said.
Yeah.
You had coping skills to regulate yourself, whatever. 6 months ago, you never could have done that.
Yeah.
Why aren't we celebrating that?
Right.
On the way to a stronger self-awareness. We just don't do it.
Right. Because that also is exactly the part of self-awareness. Like, what are the things that are actually pretty great?
Right.
And promoting more of that in our lives, saying, what did I do to contribute to that? What strengths or gifts or skills do I have that I utilized there? And how do I do that more?
And what you just said is the key part, though, that I have.
Yes.
That's the hardest part, is we're celebrating me and what I have. Not, it's too easy to say that you have, that you possess.
Yes. On that point, listeners, when was the last time you really sat and thought about what makes you amazing and what you do well? We're laughing. I bet that if I said, when was the last time you thought about what you need to improve? People might say to me, Becky, maybe 30 seconds ago. But I have a strong sense that for people listening to this right now, they might have to think a little harder about the last time they celebrated themselves. I want to talk about some issues that might be at play underneath. Why we don't celebrate us. Mm-hmm. Tell us the first one, Tara.
So first reason we may not celebrate ourselves is we think it's humble. We get humility mixed in with criticality. Which...
Yeah,
that's how we live, and start thinking that if we highlight how wonderful we are, that we will become then this conceited, self-centered human that only thinks of ourselves.
Yes. We also might consider expectations. So you and I have kind of tiptoed around this a little bit in our conversation thus far. We talked last week about standards and maybe high standards.
Yep.
If we meet these, we tell ourselves it isn't noteworthy.
Right.
We met the mark. That's it. We simply met the expectation. If we don't meet the expectation, of course, disappointment can have its time. To meet an expectation is basic, though. Mm-hmm. And even if that expectation is very high, and we don't take time to reflect on us meeting those expectations and celebrating the fact that, yes, in fact, we are living out our value system as we wanted to. Mm-hmm. So expectations.
Next one. We might not celebrate what we bring to the world around us because of the idea of effortless mastery.
Yeah.
And some people might wonder, what is that? Well, our own gifts, skills, and innate talents are, of course, easy for us. They are natural to us. But because they're easy for us and maybe don't take a ton of effort, we minimize them and place them into these, I'm not special, or everyone can do these buckets. Yeah. We're not acknowledging the amazingness that's within us.
Yes. And good point, because if it comes easy to us, we then take that and say it's easy for everybody.
Yeah, it's not a gift.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not a big deal.
We might not celebrate ourselves because we compare ourselves to others. Mm-hmm. Maybe we see what we did or the success we had or the thing that went well, and we want to honor the moment. But then we see that other people seem to be doing the same thing and aren't celebrating it.
Yes.
Or we see how they might be doing even cooler and more amazing things than us, and we think our moment no longer really is a celebration. So that comparison culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, and I love talking about this one just because there's science and stuff involved, there's negativity bias. So it's holding on to the things that didn't go well, and we may not even remember the wonderful things that we have done.
Absolutely.
And I like talking about this one because it all comes back to how we're wired. Our brains are wired for negativity, and it's all about survival. Mm-hmm. So it just goes back to the basics of survival. We needed back then, and then obviously it continues on to present day, we needed to focus on process, reflect on, and remember the negative info in order to survive, so that the next time we encountered that dangerous situation, we would then remember how to engage in order to survive again. Mm-hmm. So even our memory recall is going to remember the negative more, right? Because it kept us alive. Well, now the problem is, present day, we don't have the dangers like we did before, but our brain still reacts the same way. Mm-hmm. And so we always say this, right? How come we remember 10 criticisms and one compliment? Mm-hmm. And it does come back to the survival piece of, well, because.
Yeah, that negativity bias. Yeah.
So yes.
What are your thoughts on the list?
Oh, well, first, when it comes to the idea of being humble, the whole thing of, it's this discomfort of what do we do when those things happen? So my example is, and I think this happens to a lot of people, is let's say at work you get compliments from a client or a coworker or your boss or whoever it is, and you feel so proud of those compliments, you want to share them with someone. I don't, because what do you do? So my example is I'm sitting in supervision. I think I've shared with my supervisor once, hey, I did have this cool moment where this client said something, and he was really sweet about it. But it's that idea of we just keep it to ourselves and it goes nowhere. It feels good, but why don't we share that more, right? It's what do we do with it? The expectation piece spoke so just loud to me because of just my place and where I am in the world, about it has to be a large expectation that I've met in order to personally celebrate.
Yeah. That's extraordinary.
Yes. And dealing with clinical hours and things like that we've talked about, versus, other things just doing your notes or whatever, or smaller weekly things. It's just you're supposed to do that. Even if you get behind, don't celebrate the fact you're caught up. Girl, you were supposed to be doing that the whole time.
Right.
It's that idea of it's okay to celebrate both.
Right. And I think that there might be something to us being taught to not honor ourselves. So that gets back to the humility piece of you can be a good person if you don't notice any of those things. And we tell ourselves that. In January of 2026, I did not know this, everybody.
I'm excited to hear.
But in January of 2026, PeerSpace released a study called the Self-Celebration Report.
Of course they did.
I didn't even know this was a thing, but you
Nor
can
did
look it
I.
up. And this had some fascinating data points when it comes to acknowledging talents, milestones, life moments, even achievements. Before I go into it, very quickly, I want you to answer the question, Tara. What would you say your ratio is of celebrating other people compared to celebrating you?
90-10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So part of the stats on this got at that exact thing.
Okay.
And I wanted to share some of the pieces from this Peer Space report, the self-celebration report. Americans are more generous with others than themselves, big time. The typical American is willing to spend more than double on celebrations for a friend compared to themselves. We're not only talking about birthday parties here, everybody. We're talking about just in general to celebrate someone. People are 3 times more likely to spend nothing on themselves than on someone else.
Wow.
1 in 4 people, 26% interviewed for the study, said they wouldn't spend $1 on their own celebration.
Holy cannoli.
They wouldn't spend $1. 49% of people said they felt comfortable celebrating themselves. This varied greatly across generations, with baby boomers not feeling much less comfortable and Gen Zers feeling more comfortable. 44% of people said they felt uncomfortable celebrating things in their own lives. Thoughts on the stats?
Wow. First, I would love to know which generation feels uncomfortable celebrating things in their own lives. It's all of these statistics are shocking, and then at the same time not shocking.
Yeah.
The generation thing does not surprise me because we communicate and interact with people of different generations all the time in our world. I am astonished that 1 in 4 people say they wouldn't spend $1 on their own celebration.
Yeah. Listeners, ask yourself the question. How much would you spend on a celebration for yourself?
Buy yourself a cup of coffee on your birthday. Like, go to the grocery store and buy a cake. Like, you deserve it.
Wouldn't spend $1. Yeah. When would you say you celebrated you last? And I don't mean a birthday. I mean for a small success, a cool moment, a talent, something you did.
I knew I was going to have to answer this question, and I literally couldn't think of anything. This morning, I went and got myself a smoothie because I did think to myself, wow, I really have done nothing for myself. Like, I can't remember. Now, that's probably like the self-care category. My point that I'm driving home is it's been so long, I literally
can't remember.
Don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it is a thing that we do have to practice.
Yeah.
I think it is something that we do have to practice. For me, a bigger moment that just recently in celebrating myself a little while ago, Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness got its name put on a sign that is out in the front of our building. And these are spaces reserved for the larger tenants in the building. And when I saw the business name go up there, I got teary because it had meant that we'd grown and this dream of a business was becoming this cool reality.
It's amazing.
And so I took a moment, I walked to the sign, sat right next to it for a little bit, and told myself what I had contributed to making that happen. And I will say it changed my mood for the entire evening. I was reflective. I was grateful. I was cheery, even thinking about the future more positively. And I think it's because I paused and celebrated the moment. I didn't spend any money also doing that. I literally just took a few minutes and honored the moment. But what would you say are some mental health impacts, Tara? I noticed some in myself that particular night. When we take time to honor our gifts, talents, life moments, overall amazingness, what would you say you think are some mental health impacts?
Well, I think first, if we just use your example, it's increasing that sense of confidence and sense of hard work and, the hard work that you put into something, but that sense of confidence, bottom line, in that, wow, like I did that.
Yes.
Like I did that thing, and we don't do that enough. And that helps so much because nowadays all we hear about is how people lack self-confidence.
Absolutely.
Another one is it aids in emotional awareness of, oh my gosh, it gives you time to be aware of what you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. Another was it improves our performance. My goodness, you took the time to reflect on this massive accomplishment. And then you stated in that moment, you then thought into the future.
I did.
what now can I accomplish? And because there's a boost in confidence, I guarantee those goals were bigger than they would have if you didn't take time.
I absolutely believe that.
Another one is it promotes resilience, because I guarantee you had to overcome some obstacles in order to achieve the success you've had in your practice. It's going, you know what? I did overcome those things. And it's causing you to pause and say, I did overcome that. I know I can because I have proof that I did. I know I can in the future.
Yeah.
And then lastly, it increases the mood. And yes.
Of the listener.
Yes. Yes.
Research shows that hearing good news helps boost the outlook of the person hearing it.
Isn't that amazing?
And I'm struck by that because it has me thinking about times where I've heard somebody else's good news. And it harkens to when you and I were talking just a few minutes ago about this idea of humility, that we think that we'll be seen as a conceited person, when the research actually says that you and I just noted, we like to celebrate other people more than us.
Absolutely.
So we get in our heads about other people will think I'm kind of arrogant, that I shouldn't share. Actually, we like to do that more than we like to do it for ourselves.
Yes.
And it improves their mood. And I think about times where I've heard about that for other people. I'm excited for them.
Yes.
It actually makes me feel more positive. So I totally get the mental health impact that you're sort of spreading the good.
And if we think about that going into it, if anything else, if the one takeaway is by sharing my good news, I'm going to help the other person improve their mood.
Yes.
If anything, do it for that reason.
Total altruism here, everybody. I want to get at that normalizing our emotions doesn't only mean the challenging ones. And that's part of why we do the show. We want to help normalize emotions. And this might seem silly to say because folks out there might be thinking, okay, Becky, well, it seems pretty okay for there to be happiness, calm, joy, contentment.
Yep.
But if you're really honest with you, what about your happiness, your calm, not somebody else's, your joy and your contentment? And if you think pride is an awesome emotion, is it awesome for you? You and I have talked about this on the show, Tara, and how hard it can be to feel joy, how we want to take that down a notch. It's vulnerable, and enthusiasm, excitement, encouragement, and yes, pride, as I just said, are all vulnerable too, especially when they're directed at ourselves. And I do think that it is a skill to notice these things about us, something that we have to practice. We talk on the show all the time about we do have things we're innately good at, but we might not be innately good at noticing what we're good at. And often things feel clunky or awkward when we are seeking to practice them. What would you say?
What you said of it takes practice. So just because it feels awkward that we're trying to kind of embody these emotions and feelings like joy and pride doesn't mean we should stop trying to feel them and sit in them. It also doesn't mean they're wrong. Because the first time you try to sit in the pride that you feel for your accomplishment, you might go, oh, okay, this kind of feels weird. Therefore, it's wrong. See, I feel selfish. I shouldn't do this. Well, no, you're just not used to feeling that. So please give it more time. And with time, you'll feel more comfortable, just like any new skill that you're trying. No new skill is ever just flawless. Oh, in 1 second, I feel comfortable.
Right.
So that's my biggest thing is just give it time and be patient with it and give yourself grace. Discomfort doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's new.
Right. And we're sitting right in that with everybody else because as you said, you couldn't remember when you celebrated you last. And so we're going to try practicing this too, that noticing the feel of uncomfortable or it just feels strange. We want to get out of the moment. And maybe it's even distressing. Doesn't mean don't do it. And we can and practice this in tiny and big ways. All right. So if you're saying to yourself today, as you listen, I get it. I need to take time to honor the good things about me, maybe even celebrate them. How do I do this, though?
We're going to tell you.
I absolutely hear you person because I think about times in my life where we look to the models that we have around us. And if the stats show us we don't like to celebrate ourselves as a society, that means all of us didn't get a lot of modeling for what this looks like. So we're going to go through them. Tara, tell us the first one.
Let's do it. All right, listen up, everybody. Here we go. So the first one sounds very simple, and it is notice things.
Yeah.
We can't honor what we don't even realize is present. Mm-hmm. And as you notice, keep challenging yourself to see small moments. So yes, not only the big things are the ones that are more in your face, right? Like, whoa, you achieved that. Mm-hmm. Like your sign. It's literally in your face as you're driving in.
Yep.
But there's also so many little things that you've accomplished that are not as obvious to have pride about.
Yep.
But you have to notice those more and kind of seek them out.
Yep.
And using Becky's example, we all have examples like that. And so it's just notice more. Open your eyes a little bit wider and be more aware, because I guarantee we do that way more for everyone else. We're noticing the small things for everyone else, but let's take time to notice the small things for ourselves.
And when you do that, practice excitement. And we mean this, everybody. We practice downplaying things all the time.
Yes.
But when was the last time you let yourself be super excited? So think of something that happened for you recently. It can be in the last day or two, and say it out loud to yourself. Then say it out loud again in an excited tone. I know this sounds silly, but talking positively to ourselves matters.
I did it in my head, and it just felt good to do that.
Yeah.
So even if you can't say it out loud, like, do that even if you're at work. The next one is consider what makes you feel truly appreciated. I love this. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know, think about how you show gratitude and appreciation to others, and that may help you go, oh, wait, I possess some of those traits, or I have those similar roles.
Great point.
Often we show appreciation to others in ways that resonate for us. So do you say thank you? Do you write a note? Do you do something for them? And then take that and do that thing for yourself.
Exactly.
Write yourself a thank you note. Say a statement of affirmation. Look in that mirror, like you said at the beginning.
If it works.
Actually do it. Maybe treat yourself to something small. A smoothie, like I said, or whatever it is. And as you are doing that, note why. And remind yourself that this is because you are celebrating you.
Yeah, I love that. One thing you could also try if you're celebrating you.
Yeah.
We're going to take this in a different direction. Name a boundary you set recently that you are proud of.
Love this.
And say this out loud. Not only think it, say it out loud. Think about why you are proud of having set this boundary. We often think of boundaries as negative, and we've done whole shows on boundaries. But truly, they are a way of honoring our personal needs. That is something to celebrate. Celebration of self doesn't only need to be about something we do or accomplish. It can be a recognition of something we said no to.
Love that one. Next, make a celebration playlist. This could be all the songs that highlight pride, joy, and feeling good. Celebrating you doesn't have to cost anything. It can simply be taking the moment to be intentional about recognition.
Yeah, you have me thinking as you're just saying that about taking a photo of a moment where you feel that. Take a picture of your feeling, of a selfie or something.
Love that.
Kind of like how I did with the sign that you could look back at and say, that was the moment. I felt that feel. In addition to the song.
Love that.
Ponder the last 24 hours of your life, everyone. Reflect on something from those last 24 hours that you smiled at. I am only talking about a smile. This can be a very small moment. Anything that brought a smile. Then think about how to bring that into your life more. That smile was something to celebrate. What was it that made you smile? Was it something funny? Was it a person? Was it a memory? A song? An interaction? Something someone said to you? Even something you did, maybe? After you know what made you smile, so you think about it in the last 24 hours, then think about, how can I do this thing more? Just a little bit more. How can I spend more time with this person or engage in this activity or listen to this music, have this conversation or laugh? Daily celebrations of life can be as simple as making time for the things that bring small spaces of joy.
Love it. Love it. Next, consider qualities that you love about you. You can even do this right now.
Please do, everyone.
Yes. Write a note in your phone or on a piece of paper about 2 things that you like about you. And for some people, this may be hard.
It might be really challenging.
And that in itself will say a lot. Now, for the next day or 2, make a commitment to live those 2 qualities intentionally. For example, if you said you like that you are a good listener, go have a discussion with someone. Live that strength out. Then the following day, you 100% have something to celebrate about you. Make time to highlight that you have lived out your value system and used your skills and gifts.
I love that so much because if someone says, well, I don't know what to celebrate about me, okay, we're going to put something right in front of you that we know with 100% certainty is worthy of celebration because that's you living out who you believe yourself to be.
Yep.
And these are things that you really love about you. 2 skills. Last thing on our list, think about an accomplishment or small achievement or a life moment that has occurred recently that you have not celebrated yet. This might be, you gave an example of even things on your wall. Maybe you have the thing to show that you did it, but you haven't celebrated it. Yep. You can even figure out what this might be by asking yourself, what is an accomplishment that my past self would be proud of my current self for doing? And then make a plan for how to celebrate this. So it hasn't been celebrated yet. Make a plan for this. Don't spend time thinking about why you haven't yet or judging yourself for letting a moment pass by. Just jump in to the here and now and say, I'm going to celebrate my blank. Meaningful time for reflection is helpful in building the skill for personal celebration. What are your thoughts about the list, Tara?
Well, so many. And
Our list of hows.
Yes, I love every single one of them. I want to go back to the number 7 about consider qualities that you love about yourself. If you're a listener and you're struggling with that, going, I can't think of 2 qualities that I love about myself, then let's take Becky's advice from number 6. And it's that idea, or an earlier one, where she said kind of flip the script a little of, we'll think of it then from someone else's perspective of, what have you done for someone, and then do it, whether it's like you wrote a note, blah, blah, blah. If you're struggling with what's a strength of mine or what do I love about myself, think about compliments you've received in the past.
That's a great point.
Wow, you're such a good listener. Thank you for being supportive. Oh my gosh, you're so creative. Think of things that people have said to you. And when you think of what that compliment is, does that resonate with you? Are you like, well, I guess if I admit it, I could see some truth to that. Maybe that will help you or jog your memory or your sense of, pride a little bit.
Yeah, I think that is a really good point because it can be hard to think of what do I love about myself.
Yes.
In addition to those strategies, thinking about what do you value? And make a list of a couple things, a couple of your values, and then ask yourself, how do I show that? If you value family, that's a very common one, or if you value friends, well, what do you do that makes you value that thing? That might tell you something that you love about you. That action, I'm kind. I'm as we gave it in our example, I'm a good listener. I ask people to do things. I'm empathic. Things like that. Your value system might tell you some things that you could love about you because you're likely living it out.
Right. And that's a great point. Is friendship's important? I'm a good friend. How are you a good friend? Well, I'm trustworthy. I'm honest. That can help a person think of those things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a great list.
How do you think that self-celebration promotes well-being?
Well, think of why our bodies usually have aches and pains and lack of energy is because we do focus on the negative.
Yeah. Yes.
And we're lacking energy. When we celebrate ourselves, our bodies just do feel lighter and more positive. And so it's that idea of the more we do it, the more we are going to just feel better. It is and I know this sounds so cheesy, but I had a positive conversation I shared a compliment that one coworker said to me about another coworker. And I saw that coworker and I said, hey, da-da-da. And her whole body lit up. And she said, thank you for sharing that with me. That impacted her well-being. in a positive way.
And probably yours too.
It did. It did.
Yes. So much to think about here. We're headed to a commercial break. We will talk through listener questions in just a moment.
Express yourself.
We are back again with Feels Out Loud, and this part of the show is where we talk through questions from you all, our listeners. If you have a question related to mental wellness, sharing feelings, or topics for each week that you would like us to process through, please visit our website at becomingtogethermn.com and find the Feels Out Loud page to submit a question directly, or email us at contact@becomingtogethermn.com. Of course, follow us on social media as well. We really do want to hear from you and what you are wondering about.
And I want to say thank you to the people who have sent in some comments, questions about honoring and celebrating them. We chose to pick a question that I think synthesized what we heard from several people. And it goes back to one of the things that was on our list. It was the first one on why we might not. And this person said, I don't want to come across as arrogant and talk about myself too much. What is the balance with this and personal celebration? And I thought that was really meaningful. What would you say, Tara?
I think the first thing that I would say to this person in response is it involves some level of self-awareness, but it's the idea of when you're engaged in conversation with someone, is it an exchange back and forth, and are you leaving space for the other person as well?
Good point.
And it's almost like it might take like reflection at first, like a conversation to take place and then reflection. But after the conversation, if in reflection you're thinking, well, I didn't learn anything about that person, or I never received that person's opinions or thoughts or what they've been up to, then maybe, yes, you did talk too much about yourself. But then what are you going to do with it?
Right.
Right?
My first thought with this listener was, as a society, and I know I fall into this bucket, I think we tend to pendulum swing from that fear of arrogance to nothing.
Yes.
So I would ask them, if we were talking, what part of your life right now is self-celebration already? Is it a role? Because if it's not at all, then there's a long way to go to where balance might be. Because it's imbalanced on the other side.
Good point.
And if this is something new for this person in terms of what is the balance with talking about myself and talking about myself too much with celebrating me, well, self-celebration doesn't only have to occur in connection with another human being. I do think that there's opportunity, and we highlighted this, most of our things actually, on what can you do involve just us.
Great point.
Self-celebration doesn't need to be taking up space in a conversation, although I think that's cool because we did say, research says, it impacts the other person.
Right.
It improves their mood. And there is this shared energy from positivity. But if you're worried about it, listener, maybe you start with, how does self-celebration truly stay with self? How am I noting the moments that I'm maybe not even saying out loud?
Right. That's a great point. And it is something that also realizing that at the root of it, we talk about this in so many episodes and we talked about it before, is that we're so critical of ourselves that it's like we may be thinking it where the other person would think, never in a million years. Right?
Right.
Where do some reflecting, even if it is like, I'm such a list person, but sitting down and making like a paper list, like, what are the things I love about myself? What are my accomplishments? Whatever it is. Whether it's to go, whoa, I can very easily identify how amazing I am. And wow, I share this stuff all the time. But what do I know about my loved ones' accomplishments and what they're proud of? And if I can't say anything about anybody else, how telling is that?
Very good point. We're already at the end of our show. Thank you for listening this morning, everyone. Join us next week as we process more mental health-focused topics. And in the week ahead, be kind to yourself. Remember, everyone, that connection fosters wellness, and your voice is one that the world around you needs to hear. Share yourselves, friends.
Try again. Some do, some don't.